it's Dale Lena here. About time for another update. I haven't done one in quite some time. I've just had a bit of time on my hands for some reason because of COVID-19, and so I thought I would try and make my videos just a little bit more professional, down to, oops, to knock my mic, there you go, starting well, being more professional, with a little bug in the corner, and the opening titles that I made the other day in After Effects. To give you some background, I used to do a lot of music videos and directing music videos when I lived in New Zealand before I moved to the UK 12 years ago or so. And I used to spend months at a time messing around on my computer, just making videos for people and opening sequences for TV shows and things like that. Just cheap things that were fun to do in the kind of my spare time when I wasn't filming something. And I really, in this lockdown, I've had a lot of time on my hands, and I've been getting back to doing things that I'd put off for some time. And I had thought that I really wouldn't mind just finding out whether I could actually even still make some of these things. So I chose to do something kind of funny and silly with my opening titles, because I felt it'd be nice to have some. And I thought I'd use this sort of naive hand-drawn pop-up book style, which is similar to a rock music intro that I made years ago, where you can make an entire set in 3 dimensions in the computer, but it's 2D really. It's just little cards that you can stack up and make up like a pop-up book, and then you can fly around with the camera and you can animate it, and it's quite good fun, but it's really easy to do as well. So, it doesn't take a lot of CGI and things like that. So I thought I'd play around with that. Hope you liked it. I'll link to the old video here as well, just it will show you a little bit of it just at the same time, just so you get an idea of some of the things I used to do. The rock video, there were some other ones for opening titles for a music show, and just various graphic things that I would just noodle around with, just for fun. And yeah, it was really good. In fact, I have to say, I'd really love to make a longer music video for a band now using the same style, even some of the same props from the Amped show that I made years ago, because it's still sitting there on a folder, and I used some of it this time as well, and it's just really good fun because you can just draw with a pen, and if you need a prop, you just draw it, and then you photograph it, and then you stick it in the computer and you animate it. And if you can shoot people against green screen, then you can populate this world with real people, and that's really fun too. So yeah, that's a little bit of a change sort of presentation wise with the channel, so I thought I'd just get a little more pro. I didn't knock the mic this time, so that's good. So recent life, it's been a bit of a weird time. I haven't done an update for a while, even though I said I was going to. I've had a bit of a strange time, as I'm sure everyone has during the lockdowns in various countries. It's a shame I'm not in New Zealand, because they did such a good job of locking it down that they've unlocked it now, and there is no COVID-19 there, which is absolutely fantastic and would be really good for my work. But yeah, I've had various stages of this virus time, this lockdown. It started off with a lot of anxiety. I wasn't sure if I had it initially, and because I was quite sick in the first couple of weeks, but you just didn't know whether that was anxiety or just kind of like another flu that you kind of just don't know if you got it and what your response is going to be like, because it's so vague as far as who gets this and who gets that. But that kind of gave away. There's a lot of anxiety and fear in life just generally because of this, and this time of like, what am I going to do? I've had all these months off, and now I've got more months off, so no income and things like that. But very quickly, I have to say, I've kind of got into a new routine, and although I had a lot of anxiety initially, it sort of faded away. The fear has dropped away. It feels now, especially in London, that you don't feel like you're going to get it now, which may well be misplaced. And we all need to still be very vigilant. And I'm still being quite vigilant myself. But the general kind of doom of that has kind of dropped away. And the anxiety about work has also changed for me too. I wasn't able to claim any of the handout money excuse me, that came from the UK government for businesses or for self-employed people and things, because I'm in a weird grey area. The way that I have my work contract set up is that I have a limited company, and then I pay myself dividends, and then I'm contracted out to a production company, so I'm not an employee of theirs, but I'm also not an employee of my own company. I'm kind of a director of my own company, and that is absolutely the one kind of like gap in the floorboards of finance that I've fallen through. So what I did manage to do is get some help from my father, which is absolutely appreciated, and also I went and got a couple of loans, one from my personal bank and one from my business, just to cover myself for X amount of time. The first one I just did for knowing I'd have a few months off, and then I would be able to get by and just pay my rent and order food and just be able to live. And even if I did nothing else, I could just at least cover that stuff. So that was important. And then the second loan for my business, I actually took out more recently because it became clear that the film industry is going to take much, much longer to restart again. And my own work may not be for another number of months. So I'm having to prepare for that. And at the end of the day, I don't take it personally because I've incurred some debt because of this, but I will pay it off eventually, and it's just money at the end of the day. It's more important to be able to live my life comfortably at home and be relaxed and not be freaking out every second. And that's a huge advantage, and I'm very privileged to be able to take advantage of that system. And there's a loan that was the interest is paid by the government for a year, so it's not going to actually cost me anything. I will just pay it back, and it should be fine. So that's cool. That's fine. So that brings me into a work situation. There is no work in the film industry. I could go and get another job, which is I've thought about, and currently I'm just okay settling and just waiting it out a little bit. But I think at the same time, if I find out things maybe there's a work offer in New Zealand, I might go back there. Or if I feel like there's starting to be hints of work coming, I'll just hang on. If it really feels like it's going to be delayed for a long time, or there is a second wave of the virus, then I will just have to get a different sort of job. And that's okay, I'll do that. But in the meantime, I've been keeping myself busy. I've been doing the graphics and things. I made the music for that intro as well, which has been a recent thing to get back into. I used to produce music a long time ago when I was like 20, 21. With a friend of mine, and he and I had a falling out. He sort of did me dirty on a deal for the soundtrack for a TV show, and I kind of shied away from any music production after that, and it kind of killed my confidence of whether I had any ability in it, and whether it was all just him and I was the kind of the less useful one. So maybe he was right to cut me out of that deal. But that's a shame. I had always really wanted to do music, and so in this time off, it's been interesting. What I've been doing is going back to catching up with the things that I really want to do. Everyone says, they want to write a book or a script or something like that, and actually it turned out that's not what I've been wanting to do while I've been having this time. So I've been playing music, I've been making some music. I've got a thing called Machine from Native Instruments, which is like a drum machine pattern creator, and it's hilariously good fun. I would highly recommend that. It's not too expensive, and it's just everything comes in it, and it's so much fun. And then I've been baking lots. I've recently been making lots of bagels for my housemates and myself, and that's been keeping me fed, and it's pretty cheap too, so that's good. I haven't been buying as many groceries because of that, and I've been generally doing things like that, like just living quite a simple life and keeping really healthy. And I've been exercising a lot lately because I've had the time, and at first I found it really difficult. But I've been now getting into a really good routine, and I feel healthy, and I've lost a little bit of weight, and that's nice for me because my body is still going through changes. But yeah, that's kind of that brings me on to the physical thing of my transition again. Essentially, have really struggled in the last couple of months. Since the last video, actually, I started ballooning up a little bit, putting on a bit of weight, but I still felt like I had my kind of masculine physique in a large way. And I still, I'm always going to be broad-shouldered. That's impossible for me to change. But I just started feeling kind of wrong and masculine, and kind of, and being at home all the time I'm not often wearing makeup and not really getting dressed up very much. And so I felt like I was very, very much stalling in my transition. And it's been really good for me to get a little bit more exercise and get back into routine, get past the kind of hump of the way my body works now. Is I was always quite physically strong, and it's quite easy for me to have gained fitness, but then I would lose it quite quickly too, but that's fine, as partly because I'm older. But now I'm finding it much harder to build my fitness, and to the point I'm actually getting quite bad leg cramps in the night, because the muscles in my legs in particular, although I'm doing the same sort of running I was doing before, I can't go quite as far as I used to be able to so easily. and and the muscles are shrinking. They're visibly shrinking now, week to week. And it's sort of other people, because you wouldn't really pick it, but I can tell. And I'm getting kind of like reverse growing pains where the muscles are kind of atrophying, and so in the middle of the night I can get really terrible cramp and things like that. So that's interesting. I'm kind of getting used to it, but in some ways it's also very affirming, because it is the transition. It is my physical shape and layout. The proportion of what's muscle and what's fat and things is continuing to change, and I it's what I want. I kind of feel better and better about that every single time something happens, and wish it could be more. I would love to be more feminine in my physique, but at the same time I go running and I wear I wear shorts and a bralette and a singlet and things, and I don't hide my physique when I go out and about. I'm not in the kind of the mindset that I need to hide myself, and some people stare, some people don't, some people smile, and that's all fine. And I would dream to have a more feminine body and be smaller and things like more petite or whatever. It's not really going to happen, so I can dream about it, but it's not really going to come true. So I'm just going to enjoy the things that I can do, and being healthier and eating better and exercising more and kind of like feeling fitter again, despite it being much, much harder to get fit, is a really good thing. And I have a huge respect for women training in athletics, any sport now, because I can see it's a lot harder. It's harder to keep your fitness. It's harder to build the fitness. It's harder to build strength. But the plus side benefits of that is you have slightly skinnier arms and things like that. And I prefer that personally. So what else have I got there? Yeah, talked about work. I've got a little list here I've got to kind of rattle through really quickly so I don't kind of bore everyone. So COVID-19 again. I am going to talk about Black Lives Matter, because this is the after 9 to 10 days of rioting in the US and protests here in the UK and around the world. So I will mention that. I am just going to get into that in a second, but before I do, just continue on about COVID-19 and my life at the moment. I've just recently, just like 2 days ago, cancelled the pencil I had on my GRS, my genital reconstruction or reassignment surgery in India, which I was going to do in October and November this year. And I'm not going to be able to work enough this year, even if I start next month. I just wouldn't be able to save the money to pay back this loan, have some money in my bank account, go to India, then have like 3 months off afterwards, and then get back to work again. I would end up just not working for like a whole year with maybe a few months peppered in there just to save some money. It's just not going to happen, and I've had to just kind of bite the bullet and acknowledge that. So I put that off. I'll do it next year. It's fine. One thing about this lockdown time is I'm really used to just having downtime now, so I feel much better about what I can afford and how I can enjoy or make the most of that recovery time next year. So I know I can do it, and I might even just do it in the middle of the year, even if it's a busy work time, just because I know I can do it and I need to do it for myself. But with that said, if I do get a bit of work, I just distracted myself. I'm sorry. I keep saying all the time, and my mum's voice by email just rang in my head saying, stop saying all the time. And I know that I just do it constantly, so I just don't even think about it. I need to find a way of just pausing quietly instead of going but it's a very Kiwi thing to do, and see, I can't stop myself. So where was I? I was thinking, yeah, that's right. So if I do have work starting in the next few months, or next month hopefully, then I would be able to kind of work for a few months, and I'm always going to have a downtime around December and January, as it's always a time off in the production industry, making television shows. It might be different this year because there's going to be a backlog of demand for making shows, so I'll probably just keep working as much as possible. But with that in mind, the other surgery I have considered doing, because it does still bother me and I'm a bit lazy about it, is a vocal surgery where not to tweak my Adam's apple, because I've already done that, even though I still have a visible one there. It's far reduced from what it was. That was one of the first surgeries I did as a kind of a test But what I wouldn't mind doing is going to South Korea, and a very hygienic place, or well tested and traced, to do VFS, vocal. I don't know what it stands for. Vocal something surgery. So that is going to raise the pitch of my voice by tightening the vocal cords themselves. So essentially, like tuning a guitar tighter. It grabs the tissue and it tightens it and makes the aperture smaller, makes the vibration go up in pitch, and although you need to still try to speak in a different manner, in a more feminine way, it would just take that bass pitch up higher. And it's something that still bothers me, and I would like to do something about it. And if it came down to it, I would just swap these surgeries around. So I would try, if I knew I could do 6 weeks off, which may happen regardless at Christmas, then I would do that one, hopefully at the end of the year, and then recover over Christmas. And then next year, later on, when there was a bit more time and a bit more money in my pocket, and my bank account, then I could go and do my GRS, and which would essentially complete my transitional surgeries and give me the physique, or the physiology that I would be more comfortable with to then carry on with the rest of my life. Okay, that's all that stuff. That's obviously big transition news for me. That's what this video is all about. But I have to carry on and just talk briefly about Black Lives Matter and how it intersects with trans lives, and black trans lives in particular. I'm doing a lot of thinking, and I'm pretty privileged, white, pretty middle class person, and I acknowledge that intensely. Although I'm transgender, and that puts me in a minority, I've chosen to do this transition in a much later time in my life, when I still have kind of built on top of the privilege that I've had throughout my life and my career. So I consider myself very, very fortunate, and I acknowledge that has been handed to me without me really doing a lot of work for it. So I didn't go to the protest yesterday in London, though I was going to. I didn't feel comfortable going out in a crowd. I'm still quite conscious in the street of keeping away from other people, and until we really have a better handle on COVID-19, I still think that's the right decision for me personally. But at the same time, the ability for people to go out and protest this issue, racism and systemic racism, is incredibly important and well overdue. Couldn't be more overdue. And just to see the multi-generational, multi-ethnic response worldwide to dealing with this, and the horror at the brutality that the US and other police forces around the world deal under their citizens, particularly the US is the problem at the moment, obviously we're talking about. But I hope that change spreads and fixes these issues. But it can only do that. It can't do that by posting a black square on Instagram or anything like that. It won't be fixed by me talking about this on YouTube. But what I can do personally, as I've been thinking about it, and I'm still considering this and thinking it through, what can I do? I'm a director of photography in the film industry. I have the ability to hire people. My film crews, I've been concentrating on a very blinded sort of way for a while, because of my own issues, on making sure there are more women in my camera departments and my teams and lighting teams. But you know what? It's 99.9% white in the UK, in my experience in the film industry. In New Zealand, it's a lot more mixed with Polynesian Maori people in the film industry. It's the era that I came up in it, in the 90s in particular, was a very kind of, as a teenager, we had mixed friendships. It was just not a thing, and in fact, if anything, it's gone backwards a bit. But over here in the UK, I have a couple of black friends, and but we put them into a category of my black friends, and that's a terrible thing to think. And that is this built-in mindset that we have to get rid of. That we kind of label everything and we put everything into boxes, and by doing that, we're othering people and not bringing them into our own spaces in a natural manner. And don't get me wrong, these people are wonderful people. They're good friends and people I'd like to see more of. But the work that I need to do is to make sure that the people around me in my place of business, on a film set, there shouldn't just be white faces there, and I have a responsibility to do something about that, and I have the ability to do something about that. So that's what that's what I'm thinking about. I'm going to work harder on making sure we hire more people into junior roles to bring them up into the film industry, and this won't change overnight, but I'm going to think about more about who I choose to work with and who is included in that process. I worked with a wonderful director last year, who's a hilariously theatrical black woman, and I really adored working with her, and it was an eye opener for me because I hadn't worked with a black director before, and I don't get to work with enough women directors, but let alone a female and black director. So that was a really good step, and that was a step that my producers had made, and now I need to encourage the other producers I work with to do the same. And that's just the least I can do. So this is what I've been thinking about. I'm just sketching this out, obviously, and I'm sorry. I really hope I haven't offended anyone in any way as I work this through in my head, and I'm sure I'm going to make mistakes, but I'm going to keep thinking about it and keep trying to do better. Black Lives Matter, and also Black Trans Lives Matter. Recently, you may or may not have seen a black trans woman beaten up by a crowd of black men in the US, and she got away, which is fantastic, but you can't be fighting for black lives on one hand and not include all black lives, including the LGBT community as well. And in the trans community, the predominant victims of crime and brutality are black trans women and or black trans men, actually, as well, as recently as shown. And this has got to change. This is it's not good enough. And we wouldn't be here without the advocacy and the fight, the rebellion of black trans women, like in Stonewall riots and things like that. So I just think, again, I'm just thinking these things through and thinking about them, but there's more that needs to be done, and in my own LGBT community it can be better, and it just needs to be better. So yeah, it's a heavy time and a hard thing to kind of think through, but it's worth the effort, and the least we can be doing is thinking about it and making mistakes and owning up to them and moving forwards and bringing everyone along with us. And I'm got to use the privilege that I have, that is built on the past that other people have struggled to create this time now, and we need to then struggle now to create a better time ahead for the next generation, or for those of us in this time who aren't as fortunate, as just as simply as lucky as we might be. So okay, that's a bit of a heavy ending, but that's okay. It's important, and I hope this has been okay. It's bloody long again, I'm sure. I've just kind of rabbited on, but I haven't done one for a while, so I'm gonna just not worry about that. But I'll try and do some more. I'm going to also try and make the background music for this. I don't know how well it will have worked out. I'll know in a day or two. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Okay, bye.